All right, we clearly need to pray. So let's go ahead and pray. Almighty Yahweh, we praise you and thank you for who you are. Oh, we thank you Most High. Thank you for all that you do. We continue to pray that you would bring healing over all these sicknesses that everybody is dealing with. And Father, we also pray today that you would send your Spirit to illuminate the Scriptures for us. I pray that you would help us in our study today, that we would better be able to understand you and understand your plan, and better be able to give a defense so that we can better be able to walk in your ways. I pray, Father, as always, that it would be your words and not mine. Pray that you would bless our time in our fellowship today and our study. In the name of your Son, Yeshua, our high priest. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So, I originally said to myself, well, I'm going to do something different today. And then I started studying out, and Elijah encouraged me because I wanted to do a lesson to kind of build a foundation for where we're headed in Hebrews. Because we're about to head in some of the hardest chapters in Hebrews. It gets very, very dense. It gets very confusing. So I wanted to build this foundation. And I wasn't really going to go into the text. I was just going to go do this lesson. And as always, the Father plans these things out. And Elijah encouraged me and said, well, no, you should look at the text. So that's why we're doing Hebrews 7, 1 through 10 today, because, of course, the Father laid it out perfectly that we're actually going to go through the text and do the foundation that I wanted to do. So I thought we were going to do something different today, and the reality is we're not. We're just going to do the same old thing we always do. So the question I want to ask you, what is a priest? I found out you can do animated GIFs in PowerPoint, apparently. So what is a priest to you? What do you think about when you hear the word priest? On the context? Catholics? We got some of those up there.
Somebody holy.
Holy?
Righteous.
Okay. Any other thoughts come up when you hear the word priest?
Presenter of whatever word that they're being a priest about.
Presenter, okay. Like an emissary for their deity.
Right.
Okay, yeah, because can we have righteous priests? Yeah, can we have priests to different gods?
So there is nothing showing up on the screen.
There is nothing on the screen. Well, let me fix that.
There's an 18-second delay.
That's
No, it's
fine.
not on
It's still not on there. I bet I know what the problem. No. Why would it not show up? It's there in the window.
Did somebody say to teach the difference between clean and unclean?
No, no one said that. Teach the difference between clean and unclean. Is it still not showing up?
Nope. They say mediator between God and man.
Well, they're hearing it. Why is the video not showing up? One moment.
I don't know.
You're getting on the screen? Okay. Good. All right. Little technical difficulties this morning. We'll get it squared away. We'll get back into it. So I want you to think about what a priest is. I want you to have the priest in the mind, because that's what we're going to talk about today, is the priesthood. So as always, let's go ahead and ground it in the context of our chapter. Someone like to go ahead and read our context?
This hope we have is an anchor of the soul, a hope both sure and confirmed, and one which enters within the veil, where a forerunner has entered for us, Yeshua, having become a high priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High Yah, who met Abraham as he was returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him, to whom also Abraham apportioned a tenth part of all, was first of all, by the translation of his name, king of righteousness, and then also the king of Salem, which is king of peace, without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like the Son of Yah. He remains a priest continually, Now observe how great this man was, to whom Abraham the patriarch gave a tenth of the spoils. And those indeed of the sons of Levi, who receive the priest's office, have a commandment in the law to collect a tenth from the people, that is, from their brothers, although these are descended from Abraham. But the one whose genealogy is not traced from them had collected a tenth from Abraham and blessed the one who had the promises. But without any dispute, the lesser is blessed by the greater. And in this case, mortal men receive tithes. But in that case, one receives them, of whom it is witness that he lives on. And so to speak, through Abraham, even Levi, who received tithes, paid tithes, for he was still in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him.
Thank you. So there's our context for today. Who are we talking about in this passage? Directly. Who is it? Is this Abraham? Who else? Melchizedek. We got this Melchizedek guy. So who is this Melchizedek guy? There's actually a lot of questions. There's a lot of theories on Melchizedek. Well, let's actually look at the words. Melchizedek. Go figure, it actually means Melchizedek. You've got the Greek and the Hebrew up there. 8 times in the New Testament, all in Hebrews. Hebrews is the only one that mentions Melchizedek. 2 times in the Septuagint. Of course, this whole passage is referring back to what happens in Genesis. Genesis 14. The kingdom of Sodom came out into the Shava Valley. This was the plain of the kings, to meet him after he returned from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him. Remember, this is when Abraham goes and rescues Lot. So the kings came and took all these things from Sodom and people, and Abraham takes his people and goes out and rescues Lot. And so the king, and Melchizedek, the king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. Now he was the priest of the highest God. And he blessed Abraham and said, "Blessed be Abraham by the highest God, who created the heavens and the earth. Be blessed by the highest God, who delivered your enemies into your hand." And he gave him a tenth of everything. So there is the Abraham account of Melchizedek. Now remember, this is 400 years or so, at least, before Mount Sinai. And we have a priest of Melchizedek. Just keep that in mind. The Jubilees passage of the same event, a lot of times we'll go to Jubilees, it'll shed some light, it expounds on details, gives us things. So we go to the Jubilees and it says, "And the one who had escaped came and told Abram that his brother's son had been taken captive, and Abram armed his household servants for Abram and for his seed, a tenth of the first fruits of the Lord. And the Lord ordained it as an ordinance forever that they should go to the priests who served before him, that they should possess it forever. And this law there is no limit of days, for he hath ordained it for the generation forever, that he should give to the Lord the tenth of everything, of the seed and of the wine, of the oil and the cattle and the sheep. And he gave it unto his priests to eat and drink with joy before him." So, Jubilees will tell us more information about Melchizedek, right? See these dots? That's not me skipping. That's a fragment. We don't have what's in there. No manuscript has that piece. It's missing. So Jubilees is not helpful for us to understand Melchizedek. It doesn't give us anything. But thankfully, we go back to our text. Thankfully, the author of Hebrews, he gives us some pieces here. "From Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met Abraham as he was returning from the slaughter of the kings, blessed him, to whom also Abraham apportioned a tenth of all. It was first of all, translation of his name, King of Righteousness, then also King of Salem, which is King of Peace, without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like the Son of God, he remains a priest continually." The author here is giving us some criteria, isn't he? This is what this Melchizedek is, which is really nice. So we've got a bunch of different criteria in here. So here's all our criteria. He's a priest of the Most High God. He received a tithe. He's a king of righteousness. He's a king of Salem, or peace. You take it one way or the other. He has no mother, no father, no genealogy, He's made like the Son of God. He has no beginning nor end of life. He's not a Levite. And even the Levitical priesthood serves him. This is what we have from our context or criteria. This is what I want to dig into today. What is this Melchizedek that he's referring to? Because remember, as we started out the context, it says Yeshua is a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. So we probably should understand what it means. So there are three common theories of who Melchizedek is. One is he's Shem, Noah's son, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. He's Yeshua, or he's an angel. Those are the three common theories that I've heard and that I've seen around. Or there's a fourth theory, is he's just something else completely. We're going to stick with these three. So let's look out this idea. Which one do you think fits?
Well, Shem had a dad.
Shem had a dad.
Though the extra biblical books, which you can either take or not take, does say that Shem was the Melchizedek. So I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, that's,
So you're going to lean with...
why that theory's there for Shem.
Yep.
But
you're going to lean with Shem then.
Well, no, I'm not going with Shem.
Oh, you're not going with Shem.
My point is, it's out there, but I can't really agree with it.
Okay.
I can't remember it's either Jubilees or Enoch. I can't remember which one.
What about the other? Anybody else? Anybody want to pick Yeshua?
I mean, King of Righteousness makes sense.
King of Righteousness? He's King of Peace?
I don't think any angels are going to be. Sorry, I don't mean to jump ahead.
No.
All
right.
Go with Angel.
You're going to go with Angel.
Okay. Mark that down.
I feel like this should be one of those church. Everyone raise your hand.
Everyone raise your hand. What are you voting on? We'll tally it up here. No.
Do you know the above?
After the funeral.
After the Phanuel thing? There's a fourth option? Maybe. Let's look at these three theories. Let's break them down, because that's what we like to do. We like to break them down with their logic. Shem, is he a priest of the Most High God? Is that possible?
Sure.
Maybe. Could he have received a tithe? Sure. Could he be a king of righteousness? Is Shem really pretty much considered righteous in the book?
That's the line.
Yeah, that's the righteous line, so yeah. Okay. King of Salem? Maybe. Does he have no father and no mother and no genealogy?
That's true. Where it starts to fall apart.
It starts to fall apart. Does he have no beginning nor end of life?
I think he had a beginning.
He seems to have a beginning.
I think it's listed that he died at some point.
And it does. It tells how old he is or how long he lived. So this idea actually comes from the book of Jasher.
That's it.
And now, I like a lot of extra biblical books. Jasher is not one I can't quite lean on. There's definitely there could be some good data in there, but it's a questionable book. So I find it either questionable or flat out wrong sometimes. And it also comes from the Talmud. Jasher actually states that Abraham was taught by Shem and Noah. Now, if you studied it all in the early chapters of the book, in the timelines, you'll know that in Genesis, the Masoretic, the Septuagint, and Jubilees all have different times. There's complete different time ranges, like all the way from like 1,300 years to 2,200 years. It's a big gap. But all of them would say that Noah is dead by the time that Abraham lived. So then when you look at Jasher and it says Noah was alive, that tells me that's a problem. Because all three of them, which one's right or wrong or whatever, all of them are off. Only the Masoretic dates would allow for Shem to be alive during this time. Now, according to Jubilees, which Jubilees is very meticulous in its dates, I'm not saying it can't be wrong, but it's very meticulous, Shem would have died 146 years before Abraham was born, or before this incident. 70 years before Abraham was born. So I kind of lean away from this not being Shem, which is funny because before I did this study this week, I had 100% said, yeah, I do believe it's Shem.
Yeah.
And we've talked about amongst us a lot that there's things in Jasher that keep sticking in our head. Like I read it somewhere and it's in Jasher, and I don't remember that it's in Jasher. And this was one of them because I remember reading that Abraham was taught by Noah and Shem. And then I found that it's in Jasher, and it doesn't fit. So I'm going to lean away from Shem. How about an angel? Could an angel be a priest of the Most High God? Could he receive a tithe?
But how they give it to him.
Really?
Well, yeah. Would you consider him righteous?
Sure.
Probably. Does he have a mother?
Mm-mm.
No.
No. Does he have a father?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, but not in that kind of sense. Right. Does he have a genealogy?
Not that we know.
No. Is he made like the Son of God?
Probably.
He is a son of God, so you can argue that one. How about no beginning nor end of life?
No, you definitely
They were created.
They were created. Jubilees 2. For on the first day he created the heavens which are above, and the earth and the waters and all the spirits which serve before him. The angels of the presence, the angels of sanctification, the angels of the spirit of the fire, and the angels of the spirit of the winds, the angels of the spirits of the clouds and of darkness and snow and all of hail and hoarfrost, and the angels of voices of thunder and lightning, and of winter and of spring and of autumn and of summer and of all the spirits of his creatures which are in the heavens on the earth. He created the abysses and the darkness, eventide and night, and the light, dawn and day, which he hath prepared in knowledge of his heart. So, even if you don't believe Jubilees, we can pretty much all agree that the angels must have had a start somewhere. So that kind of makes me lean away from angels. What about Yeshua? Does he have no mother or father?
It said fathers.
Fathers. He's got fathers.
You want to look at that?
His two dads. Sorry, that stuff slips out sometimes. I was thinking of the old show that wasn't about that. He just actually had two dads. Now I'm derailed. Could he be is he a priest of the Most High God? Could he receive a tithe? Would he be considered king of righteousness?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Could he be king of Salem? Sure. He's a king of peace. We could say that. Is he made like the Son of God? He is the Son of God. Nor beginning nor end of life.
So, no.
He was there from the foundations of the.
We said he had to be the angels. Oh, you're supposed we switched to Yeshua.
Yeshua. Does he have a beginning?
He's definitely born, but
Well,
He was there.
he was born, but he was there.
So Psalm 2, 6-7 says, But I was appointed by him in Mount Zion, in his holy place, announcing the ordinance of Yahweh. Yahweh said, no, I'm not sure that's Yahweh. An ordinance of the Lord. The Lord said to me, yeah, this is Yahweh. Yahweh said to me, You are my son today. I have fathered you. To me, that kind of says he is a father, and it says he had a start. Now, you know my understanding that I do believe that Yeshua had a start. The other thing that I want to look at is that I also believe, skipped ahead, that Yeshua didn't appear before his incarnation. Colossians 1 says, That is the mystery which has been hidden from the past ages and generations, but has now been manifested to his saints, to whom God willed to make known what is the riches of the glory of the mystery among the Gentiles, which is Christ in you. The hope of glory, him we proclaim, admonishing every man and teaching every man with all wisdom, so that they may present every man complete in Christ. For this purpose I also labor, striving according to his working, which he works in me in power. It's this idea, and Paul talks about it multiple times, this mystery that has now been revealed. The idea that they didn't know who their Messiah was going to be. They had all these prophecies about him, but they didn't know him. Enoch talks about and says he was hidden in the folds of the Father's robes until he was proclaimed. So if Yeshua had been popping up in Old Testament in the burning bush, as Melchizedek, Right? Would people have known him? Yeah. So I kind of lean towards the fact that he didn't show himself until later in history when he was born of Joseph and Mary. So, who is Melchizedek?
We don't know.
Shem?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeshua? No. Angels? No. Well, what do we do with this then? The question I want you to ask, could this criteria really fit anyone? Can you think of anyone that has no mother, no father, and no genealogy?
Yeah.
Yahweh, yeah? Can he be the priest of himself?
I would think that he could do whatever he wants.
Adam? He has no mother or father? Could be Adam, but he's not alive by then.
Maybe have a belly button.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no idea if he had a belly button. But as I started to look at this, I can't think anyone that fits all of these. Any creature, well, a creature is created, so it has a beginning. So it doesn't really fit. So what do we do with that? Let's go to this verse in Psalm 109. It says, Yahweh said to my Adonai, be seated at my right side until I set your enemies as a footstool for your feet. Yahweh will send out a rod of power from Zion. Rule in the middle of your enemies, with you as authority in the day of your power. With splendor of the holy ones, from the womb before the morning I fathered you. Yahweh swore and will not forget it. You are a priest for eternity according to the order of Melchizedek. The Adonai, your right hand, crushed together kings in the day of his anger. He will judge among the nations. He will fill up his corpses. He will crush the heads of many upon the earth. From a torrent in the way he will drink. On account of this he will raise up his head. So here is another reference to Melchizedek. And what does it say? The order. The order of Melchizedek. So, as I've always told you that my goal is to share my study with you. I'm not coming in as an authority that you have to believe me or this is the absolute thing, but I want to share my study with you, so I looked up the word order. The order is the word taxim. Order, arranging, or appointed place. In the Ode, the 6th Ode, 11 through 12, says the sun and moon are set in their place. Into the light your arrows will go forth, into the splendor of the lightning of your arms. In your anger you will reduce the earth to nothing, and in rage you will bring down the nations. Remember, we talked about odes before, that odes are a song version of a common passage. This passage is actually from Habakkuk 3:11. But I thought it said it really good in the ode, so that's why I chose the ode. But it says the sun and moon are what? They're set. They're put in place. Let's look at another passage. Esdras A, chapter 1. Now after these things they prepared themselves, and for the priests their brothers, sons of Aaron. For the priests offered up the fat until night, and the Levites prepared it for themselves. And for the priests their brothers, Aaron's sons. And the temple singers, sons of Asaph, were in their order, according to that was appointed by David. And Asaph and Zechariah and Edinus, who were from the king. So that's our same Greek word, slightly different forms. But you see, it's order and appointed. Hebrews 7:11. Now, if perfection was through the Levitical priesthood on the basis of the people who received the law, what further need was there for another priest to arise according to the order of Melchizedek, and not be designating according to the order of Aaron? So we've got two different orders of priesthoods. So we start to see this idea of order. Now, we're not going to dig into that statement. We'll leave that for a different time. But we start to see this different idea of order. And there are actually two theories on what that I've read that on what the no father or mother genealogy could mean. One is, in the passage, do we get any idea who his father and mother is about Melchizedek? No, nothing in the passage. Or his genealogy. It's just, here's a priest of the Most High God, Melchizedek. So that is one theory I've heard, and it's not a terrible theory. That's why he says no mother, no father, because we just don't get it. Not that he didn't have one, but we just don't get it. But we also know Melchizedek is an order. It's a line of priests. Right, it's a title. So what if it's describing this title or this order? What if no father, no mother, no end of life, no genealogy is referring to this order of priests? Does that even fit the text? Well, let's define something first. What does a priest of Yahweh do?
Mediator.
Yep.
Mediator?
Brings the atonement of the sin of the people.
Atoning for sins? Yeah.
Leads the people.
Leads the people.
Propitiates and things according between man and God.
Propitiates? Yep.
Hopefully teaches the people.
Teaches. That's a good one too. Let's look at a couple of verses. Malachi 2. Because the lips of a priest should guard knowledge, they will seek out a decision from his mouth, because he is a messenger of Yahweh Almighty. So what is a priest doing here?
Being the mouthpiece.
Being the mouthpiece. What else is he doing?
Guarding the knowledge.
Yeah, he's making sure the truth is spoken and not being changed. Which is why he's talking about it in Malachi, because they did. They changed it. What about this passage, Numbers 18:7? And you yourself and your sons will closely attend to your priestly office, according to all the procedures relating to the altar, and with respect to what is within the veil. And you will perform the liturgical services as a gift of your priestly office. But the unauthorized person who comes forward will die. What does a priest do here? Tabernacle duties, yeah.
Seems like they're guarding the holiness too.
Guarding the holiness. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. What happens if a non-priest does it?
Bad things happen.
He's going to die. How about this one? Hebrews 8:3. For every high priest is appointed to offer both gifts and sacrifices. So it is necessary that this high priest also have something to offer. What is the high priest doing here? He's offering sacrifices.
Yeah.
Let's take a minute for that. Look at 1 Kings 13, which would also be 1 Samuel 13. This is the story of Saul when he's going off to war. It says, and he waited 7 days for the testimony, as Samuel said. But Samuel did not come to Gilgal, and his people scattered from him. So Saul said, bring what I need, that I can perform the burnt offering and peace offering. And he offered up the burnt offering. And it happened that as he finished offering the burnt offering, Samuel arrived. And Saul went out to meet him, to welcome him. And Samuel said, what have you done? And Saul said, because I saw how the people scattered from me, and you had not arrived as you appointed for testimony for the day, and the foreigners were gathering at Mishmash, and I said, now the foreigners will go down against me to Gilgal, and I have not petitioned the face of Yahweh. So I took charge, offered up the burnt offering. And Samuel said to Saul, that was a foolish move you made, because you did not keep my command, and Yahweh commanded to you. And now Yahweh has prepared your kingdom for eternity and Israel, but now your kingdom will not stand. And Yahweh will seek out for himself a person according to his own heart, and Yahweh will command him to rule over his people, because you did not keep what Yahweh commanded you. Why did Yahweh steal away the kingdom from Saul? He disobeyed. What did he specifically do?
Priestly role.
He assumed the priestly role. So we have this idea that these things that we're talking about that the priests do, other people are not supposed to do. And there's consequences for that. We read in the verse in Numbers, they can die. We read in this one, his kingdom is torn away from him. So you get the whole thing with Samuel when he rips the robe and says, your kingdom is torn away from you. So keep that in your mind, because that's really key. Leviticus 9. And Moses said to Aaron, approach the altar and make your sin offering and the whole burnt offering, and make atonement for yourself and your household, and present the gifts of the people, and make atonement for them, just as Yahweh charged Moses. So what is a priest doing here?
Taking care of the sins of the people and himself.
Yeah, he's atoning for sins. That's something a priest does. Last one on the priest. Well, on this priest. Deuteronomy 21. Then the priests, the sons of Levi, shall come near, for Yahweh your God has chosen them to minister for him and to bless in the name of Yahweh, and every dispute and every assault shall be settled by them. What else does a priest do? Judges disputes.
Judges.
He's a judge. All right. So, what does a priest of Yahweh do? He speaks and teaches the truth. He offers sacrifices. He guards the holy things. He atones for sin. He judges disputes and issues. So, when do we see the first priest of Yahweh in the text? When do you think we see the first priest of Yahweh in the text?
Adam and Eve get the skins.
Adam and Eve. Okay.
We're covered with skins of an animal.
Okay.
Indirectly.
Indirectly. All right.
I would think their kids knew how to do offerings.
They know how to do offerings. Yeah. What's a common thought? When did priests start?
Beginning.
Mount Sinai. This is it. Someone says on the chat here, this all makes me wonder if we will be kings and priests in the order of Melchizedek, like children of promise like Isaac, but I don't know much on the subject. Happy we're going over this topic. Well, I'm happy to go over this topic too. I love this topic. And the reason why I love this topic, actually that's in my notes next. Well done. One of the reasons I'm so excited about teaching this topic is when we first started coming into this walk, when we first started understanding this truth, what we're about to look at is something I found on my own. And I was reading through the text and go, wait, what did I just read? So let's take a look here. Commonly, we believe that it started at Mount Sinai, right? We get the priests of Aaron and Moses and the Levitical priests and all that. So Exodus 28. And as for you, bring to yourself Aaron your brother and his sons, not his sins, his sons from the sons of Israel to serve as priests for me. Aaron and Nadab and Abihu and Eleazar and Ithamar, sons of Aaron. And you shall prepare holy clothing for Aaron, your brother, for honor and glory. So here's the start of the priesthood. But there's a problem. Chapter 19 of Exodus. And God spoke to Moses, saying, go down, warn the people, in case they come near to God to observe, and a multitude of them die. And have the priests who draw near to Yahweh God hallow themselves, lest Yahweh remove some of them. And Moses spoke to God, the people are not able to go up to Mount Sinai, for you yourself informed us, saying, set boundaries for the mountain and make it holy. Then Yahweh said to him, go on, go down, and come back up, you and Aaron with you. But the priests and the people should not strive to come up to God, in case Yahweh destroys some of them. And Moses went down to the people and spoke to them. We have a problem. If you know your Bible, Exodus 19 is right before Exodus 20. What happens in Exodus 20? We get the Ten Commandments. This is before the Ten Commandments. And there are priests at the Mount Sinai. Why are there priests before this?
Levi came before this?
Because Levi came before this. That could be. Well, he did. That's not a could be. He did come before this. So I want to take a sidestep for a minute. You know, I love the Septuagint. And I love showing you differences of the Septuagint. And there's a ton of extra biblical, not a ton, there's some extra biblical books that I think really are truth. And I think they've been hidden from us. So the question is, why would they hide these things from us? Why would they hide the books? Why would they change things in the Masoretic text versus the Septuagint? Agenda. Yes, an agenda. So Rabbi Akiva, back in 50 AD, he studied under Gamaliel, which is the same Gamaliel that Paul studied under. So you can draw that conclusion. He was instrumental in creating the Jewish canon. He denied the book, The Wisdom of Solomon, and the book of Sirach, among other ones. He said anyone who reads from the books left outside, that's what he called them, will have no share in the kingdom to come. So if you read Sirach, no share in the kingdom to come. If you read Enoch, no share in the kingdom to come. Funny thing is that he commonly read and quoted from Sirach himself. And he even stated that he did this because he could understand it and it wouldn't lead him astray.
Interesting.
Then we have another woman, which I highly recommend you go listen to, Rachel Elior. She was born in 49. She's an Israeli professor that studies the Dead Sea Scrolls. She's really good. I like her a lot. She is not a Christian. She's not a Messianic Jew. She is Jewish. So think about the fact that she says these things. So she's a really good study on the Dead Sea Scrolls. And she says that there were books that were removed from the Jewish canon. Enoch, Jubilees, Testament of the 12 Patriarchs, Songs of the Sabbath Sacrifice. She posits the reason why they got left out, the commonality that she can find between them, is a 364-day calendar, Levi and all of the works that he did, because we don't get much about Levi in the text, do we? And then priests outside the Levitical priesthood, and then angelic priests. The rabbis said that there was no need for them, that it was not for the people to read and understand. So why am I going into this? Other than the fact that I really like this kind of study. It's because in these extra books, we actually get an understanding where these priests at Sinai came from. Now, we can see it in the text, and we're going to look at that, but we get more explanation in these extra books. So, where did these priests come from? Oh, excuse me, why would they hide it? Let me finish that out.
This isn't about why you would hide it.
What does it say?
Were the priests before the Ten Commandments the heads of each house?
They could have been, but they were called priests. They weren't just called heads of house. So, the book of 2nd Esdras, which is a great book, again, I highly recommend it. It's in a number of canons, just not ours. It says in the 40 days, remember when Jerusalem got sacked, they burned everything. Part of what they burned was all the writings, all of the texts, all of what we would call the Bible, the Old Testament. They burned it all. So Ezra, it says in the 40 days were written 94 books. So he went up on a mountain. The Father told him a vision and said, go up on here, bring your scribes with you, and we're going to write some books. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember exactly what it says. But it says in the 40 days were written 94 books. And it came to pass when the 40 days were fulfilled that the Most High spake unto me, saying, the 24 books that thou hast written, publish, that the worthy and unworthy may read therein. But the 70 last thou shalt keep, to deliver them to the wise among the people. For in them is the spring of understanding, the fountain of wisdom, and the stream of knowledge. Ezra, the book of 2nd Esdras, tells us that there are books that the general public, one, won't understand, and two, won't read. Now, that's not to say every hidden book is one of these books. And you also have to take the idea that the counting of the books, one, I've seen numbers all the way from 90 here up to like 400 in one of the translations. So but take that with a grain of salt. And the way you count books can change. Like the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs is technically 12 books, but they call it one. So don't get hung up on the number. But the idea is that there are some books that he said this is for the public to read. Both the worthy and unworthy. That's the believer and the unbeliever. But then there's books that are only for the wise among the people, because it will help them understand. So I found that really interesting. So, where did all these priests come from? Why are they called the sons of Levi? Have you ever thought about that? Why are they called the Levites? Why aren't they called the sons of Aaron, the sons of Kohath, the sons of Korah? Right? Why are we focused on Levi? Why aren't they called the sons of Abraham, the sons of Jacob? Because Levi was a high priest. And we get this in the Testament of Levi. 8 years old was I when I went into the land of Canaan, and 18 years when I slew Shechem. And at 19 years I became priest. And at 28 years I took a wife, and at 48 I went into Egypt. The reason why they're called sons of Levi is because they all came from Levi the high priest. Further on in the Testament of Levi, it says, and thereupon the angel opened to me the gates of heaven, and I saw the holy temple, and upon a throne of glory the Most High. And he said to me, Levi, I have given thee the blessings of the priesthood, until I come and sojourn in the midst of Israel. Then the angel brought me down to the earth, and gave me a shield and a sword, and said to me, execute vengeance on Shechem because of Dinah, thy sister, and I will be with thee, because the Lord hath sent me. So he gets this vision where the father tells him, I'm giving you the priesthood because of what you're doing. And then he's given a sword and a shield and said, go execute my vengeance. We get this in other testaments as well. Testament of Reuben says, therefore I command you to hearken to Levi, because he shall know the law of the Lord, and shall give ordinances for judgment, and shall sacrifice for all Israel until the consummation of the times, as the anointed high priest of whom the Lord spake. See, we get all these priestly duties in there. He's doing judgment. He's speaking truth. He's sacrificing. Testament of Simeon says, and now my children obey Levi and Judah, and be not lifted up against these two tribes, for from them shall arise unto you the salvation of God. Testament of Judah. For to me the Lord gave me the kingdom, and to him the priesthood, and he set the kingdom beneath the priesthood. Testament of Issachar. And Levi and Judah were glorified by the Lord, even among the sons of Jacob. For the Lord gave them an inheritance, and to Levi he gave the priesthood, and to Judah the kingdom. So you see here we have this idea that Levi was a high priest, ordained by the Father. And that it would be, he says here in Jubilees, for this reason I have commanded thee, saying, testify this testimony to Israel. See how the Shechemites fared and their sons, how they were delivered into the hands of the two sons of Jacob, and they slew them under the tortures, and it was reckoned unto them for righteousness. And it is written down to them for righteousness. And the seed of Levi was chosen for the priesthood, and to be Levites, that they might minister before the Lord, as we continually, and that Levi and his sons may be blessed forever. And he was zealous to execute righteousness and judgment and vengeance on all those against Israel. The Father says, through the angel, remember Jubilees is in the voice of angels. They're the ones speaking. That's why it says, as we have. Continually. He gives him the priesthood, and he says it's for his sons, the Levites. That's where we get this Levitical priesthood. That's where we get these priests at the beginning of Mount Sinai. That's when it says in Exodus, remember, what does he say he wants to go do? Why does he want to leave Egypt? Why does Moses say to Pharaoh, I need to leave Egypt? Do you remember?
So they can go worship.
So they go sacrifice and worship. What do they need to do that? They need priests. And the thing I want to point out here, why did he give him the priesthood? He says it over and over. Why did he give him the priesthood?
And he went to go and kill whoever was against, probably just like that Phineas did.
Right.
At the door of the temple, the door of the tabernacle.
Their sister.
Right. But it was for righteousness.
Right.
How they did it was a little.
Well, yeah. It is a little suspect, but remember what one of the things of Melchizedek is? He is the king of righteousness. So why was he given the priesthood? Because of righteousness. So, we now have Levites going all the way back to Levi, many, many years before Egypt. We're talking 200 to 400 years, depending on what timeline you want to think about. My question is, he gave the priesthood to Levi. Does it go back further? What about Levi's dad? Genesis 35, we get this, and he built an altar there, and he called the name of the place El Bethel, for there God showed himself to him when he fled from the face of Esau, his brother. So he built an altar, okay? Genesis 35:14. And Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he spoke with him, a pillar of stone, and he poured a drink offering upon it, and poured olive oil upon it. And Jacob called the name of the place in which God spoke with him there, Bethel. Do these maybe sound like they could be priestly things that he's doing? I'm not saying it 100% is, but it kind of sounds like it, doesn't it?
He was picked by God.
Yeah.
Jacob loved Esau hated, so he was definitely.
He was chosen. Yeah. Genesis 33, and Jacob came to Salem, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, and he came from Mesopotamia of Syria, and he camped opposite the front of the city. And he acquired the portion of the field where he set up his tent near Hamor, the father of Shechem, for 100 lambs. And he set up there an altar and invoked the God of Israel. Does that sound like a sacrifice to you? He invoked the God of Israel. He invoked the name of God. But again, in the extra books, we get a very clear statement. Jubilees 19. And the youths grew, and Jacob learned to write, but Esau did not learn. For he was a man of the field and a hunter, and learnt war, and all his deeds were fierce. And Abraham loved Jacob, but Isaac loved Esau. And Abraham saw the deeds of Esau, and he knew that in Jacob should his name and seed be called. And he called Rebekah and gave commandment regarding Jacob, for he knew that she too loved Jacob much more than Esau. And he said unto her, My daughter, watch over my son Jacob, for he shall be in the stead on the earth of the earth. For he shall be in my stead on the earth, and for a blessing in the midst of the children of men, and for the glory of the whole seed of Shem. For I know that the Lord will choose him to be a people for possession unto himself, above all the peoples that are upon the face of the earth. And behold, Isaac my son loves Esau more than Jacob, but I see that thou truly loved Jacob. Why did Abraham love Jacob more?
Because of his deeds.
Because of his deeds.
Yeah. Why did Abraham love?
Why did Abraham love Jacob more?
Jacob, yeah.
Isaac loved Esau.
Sorry, yeah, Isaac.
Why did we get here that Abraham loves Jacob? Righteousness.
His deeds, yeah.
Melchizedek is the king of righteousness. So we're talking about, we've got this thing down here that no beginning, no end of life, no mother, no father, no genealogy. So how do we choose it? If it's not a genealogy, how do we choose who the priest is? We choose it by righteousness. Okay, so we're starting to get this idea of the order of the priesthood isn't just about lineage. It's about behavior. Does it go back further? Isaac. Genesis 26, and the Lord appeared to him on that night and said, I am the God of Abraham, your father. Do not fear, for I am with you, and I will bless you, and I will increase your offspring because of Abraham, your father. And he built an altar there and invoked the name of the Lord and pitched there his tent. The servants of Isaac dug a well there. What do we see again? Just like we saw with Jacob, what does he do?
So it's an altar.
He builds an altar and invokes the name of the Lord. What's really cool is we actually get this exact instance in Jubilees. And it says, and he built an altar there, which Abraham his father had first built. And he called upon the name of the Lord, and he offered sacrifices to the God of Abraham his father. There's no equivocation here. He's offering sacrifices. That's a priestly role. We've talked about this. For him to offer sacrifices to the Father is a priestly role. Again in Jubilees, it says, and Isaac called me continually to put me in remembrance of the law of the Lord, even as the angel of the Lord showed unto me. And he taught me the law of the priesthood, of sacrifices, whole burnt offerings, first fruits, freewill offerings, and peace offerings. This is from the testament of Levi. So who did Isaac teach? Isaac taught Levi. Isaac taught Levi, along with the angels, how to be a priest. And in the 6th year of the 7th week of the Jubilee, Abraham called Isaac his son and commanded him, saying, I'm going to skip through. In the sense of time, this is a whole long passage. It's like 20 verses. And in the sense of time, I'm going to skip around a little bit. I'm not trying to hide anything. Please go read it. I encourage you. I'm not hiding anything, but I'm going to skip around. So in the 6th year, Abraham calls Isaac his son and commanded him, And do thou, my son, observe his commandments and his ordinances and judgments, and walk not after the abominations, after the graven images, and after the molten images, and eat no blood at all, or animals, or cattle, or of any bird which flies in the heaven, of animals or cattle. Yeah, you need to eat the animals and cattle. But eat no blood. And if thou dost slay a victim as an acceptable peace offering, slay it ye, and pour it out in the blood upon the altar, and the fat of the offering on the altar, and the fine flour, and the meat offering, and the mingled with oil, and its drink offering, offer them all together on the altar of the burnt offering. It is a sweet savor before the Lord. Does that sound like Leviticus to you? Sounds like a priest being taught. For thus I have found it written in the books of my forefathers, in the words of Enoch, and in the words of Noah. And take no present or gift for the blood of man, blood for blood, that thou mayest be accepted before the Lord, the Most High God. For he is the defense of the good, and that thou mayest be preserved from all evil, and that he may save from every kind of death. Sounds an awful lot like Abraham giving him the priesthood, doesn't it? Teaching him to sacrifice, teaching him to protect the truth, teaching him the laws. What's really cool, as soon as that happens, that was chapter 21. In 22, we get this. And it came to pass in the first week in the 44th Jubilee in the second year, that is the year in which Abraham died, that Isaac and Ishmael came from the well of the oath to celebrate the Feast of Weeks. That is the feast of the first fruits of the harvest. To Abraham their father, and Abraham rejoiced because his two sons had come. For Isaac had many possessions in Beersheba, and Isaac was wont to go and see his possessions and to return to his father. And in those days Ishmael came to see his father, and they both came together, and Isaac offered a sacrifice for a burnt offering, and presented it on the altar of his father, which he made in Hebron. And he offered a thank offering, and made a feast of joy before Ishmael his brother. And Rebekah made new cakes from the new grain, and gave them to Jacob her son, to take them to Abraham his father, for the firstfruits of the land, that he might eat and bless the Creator of all things before he died. Soon as Abraham gives Isaac the priesthood, what do we see Isaac doing? He's doing the sacrifices for Shavuot, for the Feast of First Fruits. So it's clear he gave him the priesthood because now Abraham's not the one doing it. Isaac is. Okay, we just talked all about that. What does that mean then? Was Abraham a priest?
He had to be. He was giving it over to Isaac.
If he was giving it over to Isaac. Now, I know a lot of this is coming from the extra books, but it is in the text. It's just a lot more veiled. So, Genesis 12, 7 through 8. And Yahweh appeared to Abram and said to him, I will give this land to your seed. And Abram built an altar there to Yahweh, who appeared to him. And he turned away from there to the mountain toward the east of Bethel, and set up his tent there in Bethel toward the sea, and an eye toward the east, and built there an altar to Yahweh, and invoked the name of the Lord. There's that phrase again. So we see Abraham building an altar and sacrificing. Genesis 13. And he went from there where he had come into the wilderness to Bethel, as far as the place where his tent had been, before Bethel and Ai, to the place of the altar where he pitched his tent. And there Abraham, and I just read that, didn't I? Invoked the name of Yahweh. And when he looked up, Abraham saw with his eyes, and look, one ram being held in the horns of the Sabbath bush. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it as a whole offering instead of Isaac his son. So even in the offering, you think about that? Before this walk, before this journey, before this truth, did you ever think about the fact that Abraham offered a sacrifice on the mountain? He offered a sacrifice to Yahweh. Who gets to do that? Priests. See, we don't think about that because we've been taught this idea that it starts with the Levites, and that's when the priesthood started. So we don't even, our minds are just, turned off to this in the book of Genesis. But it's all throughout the book of Genesis.
So, before, and I don't want to ruin the end of your presentation, I know that it says at one point in Genesis, after Adam and Eve left the garden, then there was a time period, and then all of a sudden, and men began to call upon the name of Yah.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be where they started going, hey, we need to have this priesthood position so that we can communicate with our Maker.
Okay. We do have that. That's a good point. that it does say they started calling the priesthood, that they started calling the name of Yahweh, which we've seen could refer to the priesthood. That's a good point.
So does that mean that Noah was a priest too when we see him giving the answer?
We're going there. We're going there. We're going back. Jubilees, again, makes it perfectly clear. And in the 5th year of the 4th week of this Jubilee, in the 3rd month, and in the middle of the month, Abraham celebrated the feast of the firstfruits of the grain harvest. And he offered new offerings on the altar, the firstfruits of the produce unto the Lord, a heifer and a goat and a sheep and an altar as a burnt sacrifice unto Yahweh. For their fruit offerings and their drink offerings he offered upon the altar with frankincense. That's pretty clear, isn't it? He's doing priestly duties of Shavuot. Noah. Do we go back farther from Abraham? We don't have anything about Shem. I don't know what's about Shem. We have very little about Shem. We get a little bit more in Jubilees, but we don't get a lot. So we'll go back to Noah. What did Noah do the first thing he got off the ark? He built an altar and made a sacrifice. Noah built an altar to God, and he took from all the clean livestock, from all the clean birds, and he offered a whole burnt offering on the altar. And the Lord God smelled a sweet smell, and the Lord God pondered it and said, I will never curse the earth further because of the deeds of humans, because the intention of humankind is focused on what is evil from youth. Therefore, I will proceed to strike all the living flesh no further than I have done. In Jubilees, again, we get it clearer. And on the new moon of the 3rd month, he went forth from the ark and built an altar on that mountain. And he made atonement for the earth, and took a kid and made atonement by its blood for all the guilt of the earth, for everything that had been done on it had been destroyed, save those that were in the ark with Noah. And he placed the fat thereof on the altar, and he took an ox and a goat and a sheep and kids, and salt and a turtle dove and the young of a dove, and placed a burnt sacrifice on the altar. And he poured thereon an offering mingled with oil, sprinkled with wine, and stewed frankincense over everything, and caused a goodly savor to arise acceptable before Yahweh. And Yahweh smelt the goodly savor, and he made a covenant with him, that there should not be any more a flood to destroy the earth, that all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest, should never cease, cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night should not change their order, nor cease forever. Pretty clear in Jubilees what he's doing. What is the thing that adds extra in here that he's doing that it doesn't talk about in Genesis? What is he doing with his sacrifices?
Fat thereof.
He's doing what?
The fat thereof.
He's doing the fat thereof, yeah.
Pastor wants to make sure we know that it's a baby goat, not a kid.
Yes, it is not. A kid is a baby goat or sheep. It is not children. The Father does not accept human sacrifice. He calls it an abomination. He's making atonement. Noah is making atonement. That's only a priestly thing by sacrifice. Only a priestly thing. The other thing, and I didn't put this in my notes, but I noticed as I was reading it, when does the Father make covenant with Noah? That he won't flood the earth again?
Right after the
After the sacrifice. He gave Noah a chance to be obedient before he made the covenant with him.
after the priest did atonement for him and his house.
After the priest did atonement. I found that really interesting. Because we get that all over the place where the Father sees the obedience and then he makes the promise. Then he makes the covenant.
With Abraham, with
Like with Abraham. Yep. Or Yeshua. He said, if you're obedient, I'll send the Spirit. I'll send the Helper. They were obedient. They stayed in the town and they observed Shavuot and he sent the Spirit. Let's go back even further. Remember that? Okay, so this is post-flood, right? This must be where the priesthood started. Because everything went crazy and went really sinful, and the Father had to flood the whole earth and destroy it. So this must be where the priesthood started. Right?
I have a feeling you're going to say that.
Enoch. Again, we don't get a lot about Enoch in our modern text. But in the book of Jubilees, he was taken from amongst the children of men, and we conducted him into the Garden of Eden in majesty and honor. And behold, there he writes down the condemnation in judgment of the world and all the wickedness of the children of men. And on account of it, God brought the waters of the flood upon all the land of Eden. For there he was set as a sign that he should testify against all the children of men, and that he should recount all the deeds of the generations until the day of condemnation. And he burnt the incense of the sanctuary, even sweet spices, acceptable before the Lord on the mount. Not only is Enoch a priest, where is Enoch doing this priestly duty? In the Garden of Eden.
With a flaming sword, it's supposed to keep everybody out.
He's in Zion.
He's already there. We're on our way.
No, the day of condemnation is the flood. Enoch died. I don't believe he's still in the garden in the third firmament doing things. Like he died. There's other texts that clearly say he does die. But he was there, and I think the reason why it talks about that he was taken away so he didn't see death is the fact that he is basically writing down all the deeds of the men, of the sons of men, and of the angels, and the Father wanted to protect him so that they couldn't kill him. So he brought him into the garden. Enoch was righteous. He brought him into the garden, and he protected him there to do all his work. He burnt incense in the Garden of Eden. That just blows me away. What about further back? Seth. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she bare yet 9 sons. This is from Jubilees. And in the 5th week of the 5th Jubilees, Seth took Azurah his sister to be his wife. And in the 4th year of the 6th week, she bare him Enos, and he began to call on the name of the Lord of the earth. So we've talked about that being, it could be, I'm not saying 100% is, but it could be priestly language that he invoked the name, that it's a sacrifice to Yahweh. So if Seth was a priest, about Adam. Do you know how hard it is to find an Adam that's not like scantily clad? Or next to Eve, who's even more scantily clad? I'm like, no, that's the best I got. He'd be pretty ripped. He's working the land. I don't know. I do what I can.
You typed in the prompt, give me 4 without the light.
I did not type in any prompt. I went on Google and searched Adam in the Bible, and that's one of them that came up. And again, she gave birth to his brother Abel. Abel was the keeper of the flocks, but Cain was a cultivator of the ground. So it happened in the course of time that Cain brought an offering to Yahweh, the fruit of the ground. Abel, on his part, also brought of the firstborn of his flock, and on their fat portions, and Yahweh had regard for Abel and for his offering. But Cain, and for his offering, he had no regard. So Cain became very angry, and his countenance fell. Then Yahweh said to Cain, "Why are you angry, and why is your countenance fallen? If you do well, will your countenance not be lifted up? And if you do not do well, sin is lying at your door, and its desire is for you. But you must rule over it."
I'd love to understand that sin is lying at the door. That's a study probably all by itself. But.
Who did Cain and Abel bring their offerings to?
Yeah.
To Yahweh, but who did they bring them to? They're like, oh, Yahweh's over here, I'm going to go bring him over here. They can't go to the garden.
It's Adam.
Adam. I think you're right. How many people do we have on the scene here at this point?
4.
At least 4. Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel. I don't know if their sisters were born yet or not, but these 4. So we don't have a whole lot of choices. Remember how I said that one of the reasons why the Jews chose to change these things and take them out is that they wanted to hide the priesthood beyond Levi.
Because it came from the line of Adam.
Because it came from the line of Adam.
You got a lot of other
beyond Aaron.
It's beyond Moses.
Yeah.
So look at the Septuagint reading of this passage. Oh, that was the Masoretic. Sorry. Apparently I doubled the slide. Look at the Septuagint reading of this passage. Abel became a herdsman of sheep, and Cain was working the earth. Now this happened after a number of days. Cain brought some of the fruit of the earth as an offering for Yahweh. And Abel himself also brought some of the firstborn of the sheep and some of the hard fat parts. God looked upon Abel and upon his gifts, but he did not pay attention to Cain and upon his offerings. He grieved Cain very much, and he fell in face. Yahweh, God, said to Cain, "Why have you become deeply grieved, and why is your face fallen? Have you not sinned if you offer rightly, but do not divide rightly?" Calm down. His recourse will be with you, and you will rule him.
Interesting.
Why did the father reject Cain's offering?
No blood?
No blood? You sure about that?
That's his divine right. He didn't bring the first fruits.
Oh, the first.
He didn't bring the best.
Gotcha.
Okay. I've heard the idea that he didn't bring blood, but we have in Leviticus 27, every tithe of the land from the seed of the land and from the fruit of the tree is Yahweh's, holy to Yahweh. Tell the sons of Israel and say to them, whenever you enter into the land which I myself am giving to you, and reap its produce, that you will bring a sheaf, the first fruits of your harvest, to the priest. And he will offer up the sheaf in the presence of Yahweh, acceptable on your behalf. And on the next day after the first, the priest will offer it up. Is it okay to bring non-blood offerings to the Father?
Oh, it's okay to do that.
I mean, technically, they're all bloodless anyway. You're pouring it out.
You're pouring it out. But it's bring non-meat offerings, I'll change it, yeah. So that can't be why Cain was rejected.
You said you offered rightly.
He said you offered rightly. That also means that he didn't offer junk. But what does it say?
Divide rightly.
Didn't divide right.
Didn't divide rightly. Why would he need to divide? To give a tenth.
He might not have brought the right amount, or he didn't bring the best.
I think he brought the best because he says you offered rightly. He didn't give enough.
He didn't divide. Okay.
He didn't give all he was supposed to give. You didn't divide rightly. It was talking about the first fruits and the first of the land. I think this is the Feast of First Fruits, and they were bringing the offering to Adam, the high priest at the time, because, hey, there's not many others there. And Cain didn't divide rightly. But if that's true, then Adam must be a high priest. Because Cain didn't bring it to Abel. Abel didn't bring it to Cain. Unless you want to go with Eve, but that doesn't fit the text either. So it's got to be Adam.
Looks like it's supposed to go to Cain after Adam.
But Cain would be the next in line, wouldn't he?
Righteousness, not theology.
But what does the Melchizedek priest do? He receives a tithe, which is a tenth. So this Adam priest received a tithe, or a tenth, Feast of First Fruits. So we see this idea that Melchizedek priesthood, this order, has actually always been around, all the way back to Adam. The priesthoods existed all the way back to Adam. No beginning. Now, again, it's not a literal, I don't think, or we could go even farther, but it's been from the beginning. There's no beginning. It didn't start after Noah. It didn't start after Exodus. It didn't start after Enoch. It started with the first person. I think it started with the first creation. But it also says no end of life. What about no end?
That's eternal.
Eternal.
So you're talking about one line from Adam all the way through Abraham, all the way through that the people that are believers into Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. He's only the father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So all those people would be continuing life.
Okay. Do we get it in the future? This passage in Ezekiel. Did I put the context second? No. Did I drop the context? Ezekiel 43. Yeah, this is the context. So I want to read the context here of this whole passage, like 43 through like 48 or something like that. It says, and he said to me, you have seen, O son of man, the place, he's talking to Ezekiel, not Yeshua, the place of my throne and the place of the soles of my feet, among which my name dwells, in the middle of the house of Israel for eternity. And the house of Israel, they and their princes, will no longer profane my holy name by their fornication and by the murders of their princes in the midst of them. When they set my porch, their porches, and my doorposts close to their doorposts, and they set my wall as if it enclosed me in them. And they profaned my holy name by their lawless acts, they were committing, and I destroyed them by my anger and by my slaughter. And now let them thrust aside their immortality and the murders of the princes from me, and I would dwell in the middle of them for eternity. Has this happened? Unless you want to go the preterist angle. Has this happened? No. Could this be Jerusalem that's there now? Does that description fit? That they will no longer profane my name? So this has to be the millennial kingdom, what he's talking about. So, given that context, what do we see? Ezekiel 44, the Levite priests, the sons of Zadok, who kept guard over my sanctuary when the house of Israel wandered astray from me, they will approach me to minister to me as priests, and they shall stand before my face to offer me sacrifice, fat and blood, says Yahweh God. The Levite priests will be instated again in the millennial kingdom. The priesthood will exist in the future. Not only that, Ezekiel 45, but the burnt, according to genealogy. But the burnt offerings and the sacrifices and the drink offerings for the festivals and for the new moons and for the Sabbaths and for all the festivals of the house of Israel will be through the prince. He will make these offerings for sins and sacrifices and these burnt offerings and the offerings of peace to make atonement for the house of Israel. Who do we know that is described as a prince, righteous, and ruling in the millennial kingdom? Yeshua. Who is in the order of Melchizedek, which has no end.
And has eternal life.
So when he comes back, he literally has eternal life. Yeah, that's why he keeps the priesthood. So back to our descriptors. Now that we see that there's no end of life for the priesthood, and we have seen many priests that aren't a Levite, long before Levi, and we have no idea about this no mother, no father, no genealogy. But what about this idea? What about this idea of no mother, no father, no genealogy? Hasn't all of the priests been down one line? Right? It's come down one line all the way to Levi. Adam, Seth, Enoch, Noah, Melchizedek's in there somewhere. We don't know about him. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, down to Levi. We know it goes forwards and backwards. What about sideways? Let's go back to Exodus 28. Pharaoh heard this word and started seeking to kill Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and lived in the land of Midian. After arriving in the land of Midian, he rested as well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, shepherding the sheep of their father Jethro. They would come and draw water until they filled water troughs to water the sheep of their father Jethro. Do you remember this man, Jethro? He's a high priest of Midian. Have you thought about him before? Does the text give us who he's a high priest for? Is he just a random priest? Right, because we have priests, don't get me wrong. There are priests to other gods, there are priests to other religions. There are priests, so just because he's a priest doesn't mean he's a priest to the Father. So we got this priest of Midian. Exodus 18. And Jethro was astonished at all the good things that Yahweh had done. By the way, this is still before the 10 Commandments. Still before the priesthood of Aaron. And Jethro was astonished at all the good things that Yahweh had done for them, and in that he had rescued them from the hand of the Egyptians, from the hand of Pharaoh. And Jethro said, "Blessed is Yahweh, because he rescued them out of the power of the Egyptians and out of the hand of Pharaoh. Now I recognize that Yahweh is greater than all the gods. Because of this, they attacked them." So who is he declaring allegiance to here?
Yahweh at that time.
At that time. This could be a conversion moment, right? He was a priest of someone else. Now he's converting to Yahweh.
Saying that's greater than all the other gods, so they had to know the other gods.
Right. Except for the next verse. And Jethro, the father-in-law of Moses, took whole burnt offerings and sacrifices for God. And Aaron and all the elders of Israel came to share a meal with the father-in-law of Moses in the presence of God. Who did the sacrificing?
Jethro did.
Jethro. And who came to share in it?
Aaron.
Moses and Aaron.
Well, an increase of faith moment rather than a conversion.
I think it was just a declaration. I think Jethro was a high priest of Yahweh.
Just high priest or priest? I guess that's what I was gonna wait. I was gonna wait to.
Well, it says he was the priest over Midian, so he's got to be up there somewhere.
He didn't get destroyed, so he's in Midian. I must have been accepted as a priest of that area.
Right.
Yes, I was going to wait to say, I guess everybody draws back to Aaron because he was made high priest to go into the temple, the holiest of holies.
Right.
As opposed to just being a general priest versus the high priest that was, the only one that could go into that part of the temple.
That's a good point.
Priest versus high priest.
That's a good point. I agree with that. He could just be a priest, but he is a priest of Yahweh. Is he of the Levitical line? No.
I think so.
No, I don't think he is. He's a priest of Midian. So let's take a look at that. He was a priest of Yahweh in Midian during the time of the Levitical priesthood. In Genesis 25, we get this thing. Abraham added and took a woman whose name was Keturah. She bore him Zimran and Joksham and Medan and Midian and Ishbak and Shua. Jethro was a descendant of Abraham. Not through Isaac, but he was a descendant of Abraham. And it's clear to me, at least, that he was a priest of Yahweh. So are you ready for my favorite example? This is the one I love to talk about. You probably heard me talk about it, but we're going to dig into it. So we've got Jethro, this priest of Yahweh during the time of Exodus. Do we have any other examples? What do you know of Job?
He was a righteous man.
He was a righteous man. He had a really rough life, part of it. It said, the caption said Jane. Yeah, no, not Jane, Job.
Jane the priestess.
Job. Let's look at Job. Job 1. There was a certain man in the territory of Uz named Job, and that man was true, blameless, righteous, and God-fearing, keeping far from every evil thing. So, what kind of man was Job?
A righteous man, God-fearing.
Very righteous man, right? It says it like 4 different ways.
I mean, blameless is pretty.
Blameless.
That's a hard one to believe there. But...
Blameless. Well, maybe that's why Satan goes, or maybe that's why the Father looks to Satan and goes, take a look at Job. He's blameless. So it sets up the story that he's a really righteous man. In the Masoretic, in verse 5 of the first chapter, it says, Now it happened when the days of feasting had completed their cycle, and Job would send and set them apart as holy, he would rise up early in the morning and offer burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, Perhaps my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. What did Job do?
Keep sacrificing. Priestly actions.
He did priestly duties. Okay. But one of the reasons why I like Job, we've talked a lot about the difference between the Septuagint and the Masoretic. And that's something that I just really enjoy showing and really enjoy looking at. Job is one, I think, this is anecdotal, I've not done the numbers, but I think Job is one of the biggest books that has changed in out of all of the text. Not the ones that are left out.
Isn't Job the oldest book in the Bible?
Let's look at that. I'll have an answer for you on that. Yeah. Well, I don't know about the oldest book, but I'll have an answer for you who Job was and when he was. So this is the Masoretic text. Let's look at what the Septuagint says. And when the days of the banquet were finished, Job sent and purified them, rising up each morning and offering them a sacrifice according to their number, 1 calf for a sin offering for their lives. For Job said, In case my sons have thought evil things in their minds toward God, so Job acted all his days. Pretty clear he's doing a sin sacrifice, which is only a priestly thing. But let's look at the end of the book of Job. Job 42, 7 through 9 in the Masoretic. After Yahweh had spoken these words to Job, Yahweh said to Eliphaz the Temanite, "My anger burns against you and against your two friends, for you have not spoken of me what is right. And my servant Job, now therefore take 7 bulls and 7 rams, and go to my servant Job and offer up a burnt offering for yourselves. And my servant Job shall pray for you. And I will accept his prayer not to deal with you according to your folly. For you have not spoken of me what is right, as my servant Job has." So Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, Zophar the Naamathite, went and did what Yahweh had told them, and Yahweh accepted Job's prayer. Kind of veiled, but what's happening here?
Intercessory.
Intercessory. One of the roles of a priest. The father tells these 3 people, "You've sinned. Go and offer up a burnt offering, and then my servant will pray for you." But that's kind of nebulous. We don't know where they're going to offer up a burnt offering. Job's just praying for him. We pray for others, right, for their forgiveness. But in the Septuagint, "And it happened after Yahweh spoke all these words to Job, that Yahweh said to Eliphaz the Temanite, 'You and your friends have sinned, for you did not speak before me anything true like my servant Job. But now take 7 calves and 7 rams, and go forth to my servant Job, and he shall make a burnt offering for you. And Job my servant shall pray for you, because except that I receive his face, except for his sake, for perhaps I might destroy you, for you did not speak the truth concerning my servant Job.' Then Eliphaz the Temanite and Bildad the Shuhite and Zophar the Naamathite went forth and did as Yahweh ordered them, and he released their sin because of Job." What did Job do?
Propitiate.
He propitiated. He made atonement. They brought offerings, just like Leviticus says, to the priest, and he made atonement. So that's fine. He's a priest of Yahweh. We've seen priests of Yahweh's. Maybe we stick him somewhere way down the line between Noah and Abraham. Right? There's a lot of time in there. We just throw him in there. And this was always a discussion. When was Job? Who was Job? Why do we get this idea? Why did he live 140 years? Or Septuagint says 170 years. He lived a long time. So it must have been a long time ago.
But if it was 170, then it had to be after the flood, because usually they lived to at least 500 before the flood.
Right. So it had to be after the flood.
Before it was limited to 120 years.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a good one.
So let's take a look. This is the very end of Job in the Masoretic. "And after this, Job lived 140 years and saw his sons and his grandsons 4 generations. Then Job died, an old man full of days." Oh, what a nice ending. Isn't it? Let's look at the Septuagint. "And Job lived after the misfortune 170 years. I told you they were different. And all the years he lived there were 240. So he lived 170 after that.
I was just going to say that sounds like he lived 170 years after whatever just happened, and we don't know how old he was.
Even the Masoretic says he was 140 years after what just happened. He lived a long time. 240 years, and Job saw his sons and the sons of his sons to the 4th generation. And Job died an old man full of days." There's the end. "And it is written that he shall rise again with the ones whom Yahweh shall raise up. The man is described by the Syriac book as dwelling in the land of Uz, on the borders of Edom and Arabia. And his name before was Jobab. And having an Arabian wife, he fathered a son whose name was Enan. And he himself had his father Zerah, from the sons of Esau. And his mother was Besorah, so that it made him 5th from Abraham. And these were the kings who were ruling in Edom, which territory also he himself ruled. First, Bela the son of Beor, the name of his city was Dinhabah. And after Bela, Jobab, who was called Job. And after this, Husham, who was serving as leader from territories of Thaman. And after this, Hadad, son of Bered, who destroyed Midian in the field of Moab. And the name of the city was Avith. And the friends who came to him were Eliphaz of the sons of Esau, king of the Temanites, Bildad, the tyrant of the Shuhites, and Zophar, the king of the They weren't just friends, were they? They were fellow kings. So we get this idea. Not only was he where am I going with this? So let's look at this. His name was Jobab. In Genesis 36, in your Masoretic or your Septuagint, and Balak, the son of Beor, reigned in Edom, and the name of the city was Dinhabah. Balak died, and Jobab, the son of Zerah, from Basra, reigned in his place. And Jobab died, and Husham from the land of Temanites reigned in his place. And again, we get it in Genesis 36. These are the sons of Reuel, Nahath, Zerah, Shemath, and Mizah. These are the sons of Basemath, wife of Esau. The reason why I highlighted all this is because just because there's a name doesn't mean it's the same person. So at work, when you go and look at a name in the scriptures, you want to pay attention to like the father or the son or the mother, because that'll help tell you who it is. All of these match. His name was Jobab. He's in the city of Dinhabah. He was the son of Zerah from Basra, which we looked at earlier. They all match. Job was an Edomite. Yeah, okay. Job was an Edomite. He was the son of Esau. Yet he was one of the most righteous men. And he was a priest of Yahweh. Not only was he a king over that land, there's another book called the Testament of Job. And we can have debates on whether the full truth of that book. There seems like some things were added into the end of it that were a little wonky. But because what I'm going to show you matches what's in the text, so that's why I'm bringing it up. In the Testament of Job, it says there were four in numbers: Eliphaz, the king of Teman, Bildad, and Sophar, and Elihu. And when they had taken their seat, they conversed about what happened to me. And this is from the writing of Job. It's his testament. Now when first time they had come to me, and I had shown them my precious stones, they were astonished and said, if of us three kings, all our possessions would be brought together into one, it would not come up to the precious stones of Jobab's kingdom. For you are greater nobility than all the people of the east. And when therefore thou came to the land of Asidus, Uz, to visit me, they asked in the city, where is Jobab, ruler of the whole land? Not only was he a king, he might have been the king of all of Edom. He was a priest of Yahweh. He was a king over a nation or of Edom. He was righteous. He was a descendant of Abraham through Esau. And if you look at the genealogy, it was likely during the time that Jacob and his sons were in Egypt. This didn't happen back in the olden days. This happened at the same time that things were going on in Egypt. Kind of sounds like a priest in the order of Melchizedek, doesn't it? So I love that because I used to had a chronological Bible that I was looking at. I'm like, oh, where did they place Job? I always ask that question because I wanted to know. The answer is in the Septuagint. It's right there. It explains it. Exactly who it is. So, why does this matter? First off, this matters because we're about to go through some of the deepest parts of Hebrews, and we need to understand what the Melchizedek priesthood is. So I think that's one of the reasons, and that's why I spent all this time. So we need to have that good foundation before we go through these next chapters. But secondly, why does it matter? Because the priests, because of all of this, the priests were from beginning to end. That means the law hasn't changed. It means it doesn't need to change or adapt from eternity past to eternity future. It means we can be righteous and pleasing to Yahweh. It means the priests of the law didn't start because of sin at Mount Sinai. The law didn't start because of sin at Mount Sinai. There are some people that teach that it's because of what they did that the law started.
I wouldn't know what sin was if we didn't.
Exactly.
You wouldn't know what sin was. And it matters Because Yeshua is our high priest in this order of Melchizedek. That means that the way sin is atoned for has not changed since the beginning. That means that it's not about being a human sacrifice on a Roman torture device. But it's through the priestly work in the temple to Yahweh that atonement matters. That means Yeshua is still doing that atoning work on our behalf as high priest in the heavenly temple. That's why all of this matters.
The comment about the order would be that since it's not actually describing a person but an order, and it has no beginning, means that it was going on well before the earth was established.
I wanted to go into, I believe there's an angelic priesthood. And I believe the text shows it, and of course the extra biblical texts really show it. And I wanted to go into that today, but we didn't have the time. But yes, I think that's part of why it says there's no beginning and end. Because even before Adam became high priest, I think there were priests.
Is there any definition you found in Melchizedek? Taking apart the name, the word, whatever it is.
King of righteousness.
That's what it says. He's king of righteousness.
It's just Melchizedek means king of righteousness.
Yeah, Zadok means righteousness.
He makes you the king of the righteousness. Because you're in charge.
I got you.
Right.
I was looking at the word priest in one of the other texts you gave. It said, ended up in a priest, it had priest-king, and it had next to that Melchizedek and Messiah in the definition on the blue letter.
On the blue letter? Had Messiah as the definition?
It had like in parentheses, it had like priest-king as like a potential definition of the word that was used for priest. And it had Melchizedek and Messiah there together as priest-king.
I could see that being like a unique appointment.
Oh, because it just means the anointed. Yeah. It doesn't mean like specifically the Messiah.
Kohen.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to move into prayer. Anyone who's on the chat, if you want to give the prayer, give us prayer requests, we'll make sure and pray, but we're going to go ahead and mute. If I can remember my key. Thank you. May Yahweh bless you this week.